Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how you can teach yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. So I remember about a year ago, maybe a bit more than a year ago, I read a very interesting book called The 5 a.m. Club. And it's funny, in many regards it's a pretty rubbish book because it's not written terribly well, but it really left an impression on me. And one thing that I think the book is really good at is selling the idea of waking up at 5 a.m. And it really inspired me with like this image of waking up early. It just seemed like such an exciting thing to do. And I didn't really act on anything that I read in the book because at the time I thought, while it was a nice idea and it was interesting to read, the idea of getting up at 5 a.m. just seemed absolutely impossible. And it's an uphill battle to try any of that. Let's be realistic here, none of that's going to happen. But I kind of, read it and went back to my normal life. But since then, I've really put in a few habits in my life that have really inspired me made me able to get up much earlier. So I'm going to talk through how you can get into the habit of waking up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or, 4 o'clock in the morning, wherever it is. And how we can do this. So the first thing that I think is really important when it comes to waking up at 5 a.m. is to have your why. Why do you want to wake up at 5 a.m? Because when that alarm clock goes off in the morning, you're going to need to access that as motivation to get you out of bed, right? And people give all kinds of reasons for why they want to get up early. Maybe they want to go to the gym before work, maybe they want to work on a side business before they start work. It's the idea of doing something before work is often a great motivator. So I encourage you to have some kind of thing like that really sort of motivates you. But more important than that, I think, is, because the danger you can get into with that is, you can do work, a side hustle, you can go to the gym, whatever it is, after work, in the evening, maybe even working late into the night, it's a very popular thing to do. I've done it a lot myself. But there's still something, for me, the thing about getting up early is that there's something that comes before that that's so much more motivating. And that is just the joy of being up at that time. It's really weird as humans, we're really disconnected in the modern world with a natural cycle of the sun, rising in the morning and setting in the evening. The idea of seeing a sunset in the modern world is kind of not really seen as terribly exciting thing. It's a terribly significant thing. And it's so sad because seeing the world at that point in the morning when everything's just starting to wake up, the sun's rising, you can see it, everything getting lighter in the sky, it's nature at its most poetic and its most beautiful, and it's a shame that for so many people they just never really see this time of day unless they've stayed up really late partying and the sun starts rising, So that's what really works for me is getting excited about just there's something about that time of day that just makes anything feel possible. So it's really exciting. So that's what gets me up in the morning is just that, it's not necessarily the idea that I'm going to do some work. It's not necessarily the idea that I'm even going to go to the gym or anything practical, although there is that as well. It's just the fact that it's just such a beautiful time of day. That motivates me. So I'd encourage you guys to find something like that. Look within and find why are you watching this video? Why do you want to get up at 5 a.m. in the first place? Okay, so that's the first thing to get down. From there, the really key thing to do is engineering this to be possible. So I've got the motivation, but the reason why a lot of people fail to get into the habit of getting up early, if they get into it at all, is they just don't have the right setup to it, and they don't have the right expectations regarding how it's going to work. So I'm just going to talk through some important things to bear in mind here as well. So one thing that I think I want to emphasize is that it is a habit getting up in the morning, and it's going to require a lot of willpower and a lot of discipline, such that you're going to fall off on other things. If you get up early at 6 a.m. and you're not used to getting up early at 6 a.m, you're going to feel a bit more tired. Your body's not used to the sleep cycle you're trying to get it onto. You might if you're experiencing those kind of negative effects, you might think, well, this is a waste of time, I'm just more tired. My advice would be to persevere, to understand that's normal, and that part of getting into that habit, because it does have to be a habit of getting up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m, is you are going to feel more tired. You're going to get less done, even though you're having a positive habit. There's so much energy spent in doing that habit, in solidifying that habit, that you're going to lose it in other areas a bit. So if you're experiencing this, just have patience, keep getting up early, and you'll notice that eventually your body gets more and more used to waking up at that time. It takes less discipline to get up at that time, and you can start investing that discipline, that willpower, that energy into other things that you want to do, that you associate with getting up early. So I'll give you an example. My phone usage has gone up since I've started getting up early, because I notice I just have less self-discipline throughout the day to stay off it. I drift slightly more. I have less of a direction when I don't get up at 6 a.m. I actually am more. When I don't get up at 6 a.m, I'm more energized. I do work better, but I know that it's just a process of letting myself get used to it, and eventually it won't take that willpower. My body will just be used to getting up at 6 a.m, so then I can invest that into other things, like staying off my phone, being more disciplined in other areas. So it's really important just to persevere with that. There's one quote from the 5 a.m. Club that I actually really love. That is, all change is, I don't really remember it properly, I'm going to misquote it, but all change is difficult at the beginning, tiring in the middle, and beautiful at the end. Again, I'm sure I got that wrong, but you get the principle there, is that, it is going to be difficult getting up at 5 a.m. It's going to be difficult to, almost tripped up. It's going to be difficult to cement that as a habit. But that's normal. That's how it's going to be. And you just need to get used to that. And just trust that your body's eventually going to get used to it, and persevere with it, and you get on to a good habit with it eventually. Okay, so that's another really important thing that you need to remember. And from that, I think more practical things you can do are really going to help you as well. So, what do you do if you literally just can't get yourself up early? The alarm goes off, and it doesn't matter you just don't seem to be able to get yourself up at 6 a.m. no matter how bad you want to. I think a lot of that is in setup, how you set up your sleep schedule. So one thing that I've found that is quite helpful to just really force yourself onto the routine of getting up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. is just go to bed at, just before you're tired. There's a lot of advice on sleep. People like Matthew Walker will say only go to bed when you're tired. Your body needs to be tired before you go to sleep. People like Andrew Tate say this as well. I think I'm not discounting that type of advice has its place, but I think in this particular scenario, I think it's almost good to go to sleep. It doesn't matter if you're not very tired when you go to sleep, So, for example, at the moment I'm going to bed at about 9:30, and often I'm not terribly tired when I go to bed, because I'm not used to going to bed at that time. But I just accept that I need to go to bed at that time if I expect myself to get up at 6 o'clock, because I need, 8 hours of sleep to be sort of awake, to be fully rested at 6 o'clock. And then I feel like that's just a great way to set it up. And then when I do wake up, when the alarm does go off at 6 a.m, I think, oh shit, I went to bed 8 hours ago, 9 hours ago. So, kind of regardless of whether I'm tired or not, it's like, well, I've set myself up to get up at this time, so let's get up. So that can help as well. Also, some rather contradictory advice is if you really want to just shock yourself into the habit of getting up at 6 a.m. One thing that I've found that is quite effective is just to, let's say you're going to bed really late, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you're one of these guys who stays up late gaming, whatever, watching Netflix, and you're always going to bed at in the sort of early hours of the morning. One good way to just shock yourself into a good sleep routine is to just go to bed normal time and then set an alarm for let's say you go to bed at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, set an alarm for 5 or 6, and just kind of basically get 3 hours sleep and just get woken up by the alarm clock. That's really worked for me, weirdly, to get me onto a good habit with it, because it not only does it shock me onto a good sleep schedule, but it's funny, at that point your body's not actually in very deep sleep, so you can actually kind of get away with getting up quite early to it's kind of a hack, I find it much easier to get up if I've gone to bed at 2 at 6 o'clock than I do if I've gone to bed at 10, so it's 10 p.m. There's a weird sort of contradiction going on there. Obviously I wouldn't recommend that long term, you don't want to be doing that too often, but I suppose a good thing to remember when it comes to sleep is don't be too precious about it. What's more important than one night's sleep here and there is that you're getting a good general habit, you're building a good general structure on your sleep. So if you're a bit tired one day because you didn't sleep quite enough, or you're not getting quite enough hours, just I think in the grand scheme of things it's much more important that you sacrifice that to a good sleep schedule. So those are two sort of practical ways to help yourself get into the cycle. Going to bed early, and not being too precious about sleep. And from there, guys, it is really just identifying that it's going to take a long time to get into a good routine with it. There are going to be nights where you fail to get up at 5 a.m. There are going to be nights where you're going to be tired, for a long time. You're going to maybe see a bit of a dip in productivity in the short term because you're still getting, all your sort of mental energy is going into getting yourself up early. But if you can just stay with it long enough that you start to see your body getting into the habit of it, and it'll start paying you back very quickly. So that's my advice on how to do this. I hope you guys take something away from it, and I'll see you in the next video.